Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls. This is your MMOBomb.com. First look at Dual Universe, a space sandbox MMO. You're going to be exploring, building, mining, crafting, all the things you'd expect to do in a sandbox game. I am the man, the myth, the legend, the noob fridge, Troy Blackburn. I will be your tour guide on this first look at Dual Universe, which features a monthly sub, but no upfront box cost. It is $14.99 a month, or you can save a couple of bucks a month if you buy multiple months in advance. We will be going back and taking a look at character creation here momentarily. It is got some important elements to it, but we're going to start right after character creation while I talk a little bit about the game. And this is immediately following character creation. We are landing on the hexagon that we have claimed, our little piece of land, our little piece of the world. Slowly landing in our lander. We're going to be able to set up our base, which we choose in character creation. There are differences in that. We'll go over that during the character creation portion. And I wanted to show the very beginning of the game and me kind of running through the tutorial stuff here at the beginning, because it's going to be very important that you pay attention to the short little automatic tutorial that you are put into whenever you start the game, but also that you go in and you practice the challenges and some of the other tutorials that are available in your computer in your little base, because they further tutorials like that. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to go to YouTube and look up some guides and some tutorials on how to do some things. Here again, this is a first look. This is not an expert guide. This is not an in-depth review. This is the first few hours of the game, letting you know what you're going to be getting into, help you decide whether or not it's a game that you want to download and try for yourself. But yes, very much unlike the last sandbox MMO that I got to do a first look on, where there really wasn't a lot going on, there wasn't a lot of depth to the amount of things you could do in the world. This game has a lot going on. There's a ton of stuff to get into, to look at, to monkey with, to tinker with, to get into, to learn. There's a lot to wrap your head around. We're not going to be able to get to it all in this first look. There again, not an in-depth guide, but we're going to look at some of the basics to help get you started and what your first few hours of gameplay are going to look like. So the first thing you need to know is you will get your own plot of land. That'll be the place that you land in your lander when you finish character creation. And the tutorial will walk you through setting up your base and getting your first hovercraft, which you can use to travel around as long as you've got fuel to get around in that vehicle. Second thing you need to know is that the bases are a little bit different from each other. You'll choose those during your character creation process. They have different stats and utilities available. Some of them have more storage space. Some of them have larger fuel containers. There's differences. There were several to choose from. And there again, we'll look at character creation here momentarily and we'll kind of run through those. But there are slight differences in the base that do make a little bit of a difference as far as what you have available here at the beginning of the game. So kind of depending on what you want to specialize in, you might want to pick a base that maybe has more storage if you want to do a lot of mining, or larger fuel containers if you want to do more traveling, etc., etc. Now, unfortunately for me, the game didn't run like super buttery smooth. I'm running a 12th gen i7 and a 3070 Ti graphics card, and I had frame rates and stuttering often enough to notice. It wasn't anything game breaking, but it was often enough that I was a little agitated by it, and I tried to change some settings around. I never did really get it to smooth out completely. Got a little better performance out of it, but right now it seems like some optimization issues are to be found in the game. Here you'll see me pulling out my multi-tool. You'll use this for gathering, mining, leveling the ground, as you're going to see me do momentarily. Part of the tutorial tells you to level out a piece of ground and then drop your base down on a level piece of ground. I don't think I did a fantastic job of leveling out the ground here. The steps to my base didn't actually touch the ground, and I have to jump up in the onto the steps whenever I try to get up in my base. So I'm pretty sure I probably didn't quite do it as well as I could have.
Let's see if there is enough.
And like I said, this gun does everything, man. It's going to be what you use to fuel your ship. When you're using the fuel module, it's going to be what you use to mine ore. Whenever you use the mining module, it's going to be what you use to move things around whenever you use the move tool. This gun is it, man. Your whole life revolves around this gun and using it for everything you need to get done. Even in build mode, you'll have this gun pulled out and you'll be building things with this gun, taking things apart with this gun. You can break things down. Even this, the lander that I just landed in, you can break that down for parts. The base, if you wanted to, you can just break your base down for parts. There's a lot of in-depth guides out there that show just pretty much breaking everything that they have down in the beginning and utilizing those materials to build the things that they're going to need in the future. For me, not 100% sure what I'm doing at this point, so I'm keeping the base intact. The lander I did eventually end up taking apart, but not during anything that I recorded, I'm pretty sure.
Walk around the preview.
Here I am trying to find a good spot to put my base down. This is the one I chose. I forget which one it's called. I think it's called the platform. I didn't really have any rhyme or reason for which base I chose because I wasn't sure what I was going to do, what the game had to offer at this point. So I just chose the one that seemed sort of an all-around base, had a little bit of everything, sort of the middle of the road base, I guess you would call it. Once you've got your base set up, man, this is it. This is where all the magic happens. You go in here, and this is where the extension of your tutorials takes place after the initial tutorial. You'll still see me drop my hovercraft down here in a little bit, and I'll be riding around in it. But once you're done with this game starting tutorial, you go in here and there's a computer you can sit down at and learn different things. It teaches you how to use the skill points. It teaches you how to do mining and calibrate your mining operation. And it also sends you to VR challenges, which is a good way to practice flying ships and whether in the atmosphere or out in space. And I've got some footage of that we'll show here momentarily too. Like I said, man, there's a lot going on in this game. It's very crunchy. There's a lot of stuff to be doing, a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of time to sink into this game. If you really want to get into exploring other planets, you can build your ships, acquire your ships, and build those out to where they can travel into space, where you can collect other materials. You can equip them with larger fuel cells. You can equip them with more cargo for fewer runs. All types of different ships and different styles of ships for different reasons. There's also central markets on this planet, and they're quite a distance from where I am because all the spaces, as you can imagine by this point, directly surrounding the markets have already been taken up. So it would take me jumping in my hovercraft and traveling a little bit whenever I want to go to the market. But once you acquire materials and you gather those up, anything you're not going to use to build anything, you can go to the market and sell off materials and then buy what you still need with the money that you make off of selling stuff.
Let's move on.
Very much a player-driven economy in this sandbox. Me, long-term, I like being a gatherer in games like this quite a bit, so I could see me getting out into space, exploring other planets. Also, any hex that you don't own that's not owned by somebody else, you can go acquire ores from the top of the surface in those areas as well, as long as they're not owned by somebody else. If you do like me, where you're kind of out on the edge of what was already taken, I've got lots of access to areas that haven't been claimed yet where I could go mine ore as well and gather. So that's something I enjoy doing quite a bit. So that's something that I can see myself getting into. Adding extra, cargo spaces to my ships and everything to really be able to haul a lot of ore back to the market and make my money like that. Here you see us recalibrating our mining machine, getting it up and going. Your base can passively mine for one ore type at a time. You're not going to mine a majority of your ore like this. It's just a little passive bonus that runs whether you're online, offline. Does need to be really recalibrated once a day, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But you do have to come in and recalibrate this sometimes, so you can change the type of ore you're mining for with that machine. But a lot of your gathering you're going to need to go out and do yourself if you're looking for, especially a wide variety of ores. And here's probably the most important piece of equipment for starting the game, at least. This is the VR machine, where you can jump in and do tutorials. You can do challenges. You can go explore what other people have built and created. Just keep in mind that whenever you're in the VR machine, you can't bring anything back with you, so it's more of an exploring and learning tool than anything else. I've been trying to use it to fly, to learn how to fly, to get better at flying. I'm still not very good at it. As you saw the clip in the beginning, managed to turn just an atmosphere ship just upside down when trying to land it. And so I'm not very good at it yet, and even out in space, I'm struggling to make my waypoints in the challenges. So I'm not very good at flying yet. It's a bit tough, so you got to get used to the flying crafts. It's tough out here for a pilot or an astronaut, man, I'm telling you. So here we're just exploring one of the areas that some other folks have created, some ship docks and stuff, and just looking around like you can do in the VR. And then I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and cut to some footage of me trying to fly using the VR to learn how to fly. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the noob fridge, failing miserably at flying anything, be it in space or in the atmosphere. This is the VR Space Challenge mission, and this is a great way to practice flying out in space, because if you tear up this ship, it's not your ship. You get to choose one of like 3 ships whenever you get into the challenge, and you get to launch out in space and practice going to waypoints and picking up cargo and dropping off at other locations and waypoints, and you can leave at any time. If you complete it, there is a first-time bonus that you get money-wise, but it's just a great practice way to fly without tearing up your own ships, especially when you're first getting started, where it's hard to, have enough scrap and everything to repair those ships. It's a great way just to get out there and fly a ship, have a little fun out in space or flying around on the planet itself. And if you didn't get enough of my bad flying at the beginning of the video here, here's me completely unable to make this waypoint whatsoever. I just keep blowing past it and not be able to stop in time. This was my first time out in space. I am not much better now, so it's not like I improved greatly. If so, I would have some great clip of me professionally flying a ship to show you. That is something that is not in my possession at this time, because I've still got a long ways to go to be able to fly these ships properly. So let's go ahead and take a look at character creation before we get any further into this. Not a lot going on as far as your character itself. Everything's first person, so you're not really going to see yourself very much. You can change color options on your suit. You can choose between a male and a female body. Other than that, not a ton of options. There's a lot of color sliders, so you can really kind of customize the colors that you want, but overall the suit's going to look pretty much the same. I ran through a lot of color combinations just to kind of see, which parts of the suit each one affected. So you can see me kind of playing with that now. But overall, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a ton of difference. Sometimes when you sit in a chair or something like that, you can look down and see your body. But other than that, you're really not going to see yourself other than your hand holding your multi-tool. So I wouldn't spend a ton of time here if you don't want to. It's not going to be that important. What is going to be a little more important is the base that you choose. And here you can see as we continue on through character creation, this is the part where we can choose our base. There is a little rundown of what each base is kind of about, sort of the perks that come with each one. So you're going to want to just kind of read through here and see the differences between each one, what they each offer, and decide, kind of which one is more for you. There you can see there was a pilot one. So if you're going to be doing a lot of flying and stuff, you might want to take on a base more like that. There again, I just chose the platform because it was kind of more in the middle of the road and I wasn't 100% sure. Heck, I didn't even know what was going on in the game at this point. So yeah, several different ones. It looks like 10 of them, if I'm counting correctly, on the little screen as I edit this video. But even if you just want to choose aesthetically, there's quite a bit of difference in most of them. They're all quite unique from each other. So, even if you want to choose one just for its looks, at the end of the day, you're going to be able to build and create and add on to, your space as much as you want to. So it's not the end of the world if you choose the quote unquote wrong base. I don't know that there's a right or wrong base to choose here. It's just sort of personal preference and sort of what you're looking for to start out in the game. Real quick, I wanted to show what build mode looks like in the game. This is me. I've used the move tool to move the lander that I came down to the planet on at the beginning of the game up into the air, and then I'm using build mode. As you can see, I can target the individual parts, move them around, take them, and like these stabilizers here, I've seen a lot of folks say you can take these stabilizers off of this and put it on your hovercraft and actually turn your hovercraft into a flying vehicle early in the game if you want to. But here I'm just showing off that you can move them around, you can take them and requisition them, you can break them down into, you know, the elements that they're made out of if you just want the elements out of it. But a lot of people recommend, you know, hey, that lander, once you kind of get going in the game, just break that lander down because it serves no other purpose other than spare parts and materials once you get going in the game. Last thing we're going to go over in this first look is the skill points. There are a lot of skills to choose from to improve yourself, and over time you're going to be able to get access to all of these. Passively, whether you're online or offline, you're going to gather skill points, and you use those to queue up learning different skills. It's kind of like the Matrix where you're downloading knowledge, I guess. So you're queuing these up, and a lot of the beginning ones have been taking like between 4 and 5 minutes. I don't know if some of the longer ones take longer to activate, but you queue them up and you can queue up several at a time. I've seen tutorials recommending queuing up like a week's worth at a time. Some of them do have prerequisites of other skills that you have to learn first before you can learn the more advanced versions of the ones further down the tree. But you're going to be queuing those up and spending the points there at the top of the screen. You can see that I've accumulated a certain amount of points, and then each skill costs a certain amount of points. They're cheaper for the first tier, and there's different tiers of each one, and you level those up and they cost the points plus an amount of time that it uses to queue those up and learn those. And just like all the things there are to do in the game, as you can see, there are skills out the wazoo for you to learn. And they improve things like your mining, your stamina, your move speed, your piloting skills. Everything can be improved from right here in this menu just by hitting F2. Overall, Dual Universe has a lot of things you expect in a sandbox MMO. It's got the gathering, the crafting, the exploration. It's got a lot of stuff to get into and a lot of things to do. I've just kind of touched the surface here on what there is to get into. It's just sort of the stuff that's covered in the first few hours of tutorials and things you're going to be doing in the first, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 hours of the game you're going to be playing. Including here, we're just gathering minerals off the surface of my little plot of the world and trying to get going in the game. My two main gripes about the game are that the optimization isn't as great as I think it should be, and the world itself is kind of boring, kind of drab to look at. There's not a lot going on in the world. It's all kind of flat, not a lot of trees or anything like that. I haven't gone exploring the entire map yet, so my opinion on that may change later on, but I know the zone I loaded into is quite boring to look at, and the game graphically isn't just, you know, it's not breaking any boundaries or anything like that. Overall, though, if you're looking for a sandbox that's going to give you something to sink your teeth into and sink your time into, Dual Universe is definitely an option. If you're okay with the monthly subscription with no box price to get in, this is one that I believe is definitely worth taking a look at, even if you just want to check it out for $14.99 for the first month. It's a sandbox that I think has a lot to offer. It's got a lot of stuff going on in the game. It's very crunchy, as I said before. And I haven't even, you know, I'm just scratching the surface right now, man. I haven't even begun, you know, acquiring different ships to go exploring other planets or anything like that. So I've seen just a small portion of what this game has to offer. There is a demo available on Steam that you can download and try for free. I really don't know how deep into the game that demo goes. I was subscribed to the game during this first look. So what the demo has to offer, I'm not sure how far you can go, but you can definitely download it and try it and, you know, check it out there. But that's going to do it for my first look of Dual Universe Sandbox MMO. You can check it out, available via its own standalone client or a demo available on Steam at this time. And as always, head over to MMOBomb.com for all the newest, latest news and information on online multiplayer games that you are going to want to try. I've been the new Fish Troy Blackburn. This first look is done. I am out for Dual Universe.